Welcome to USA Football's Coach and Coordinator Podcast, where top football coaches from around the country share their stories, philosophies, concepts, and strategies to help you get better on and off the field. Now, here's your host, Keith Grabowski.
Hey, coaches, before we get going today, I just wanted to thank you for all you've been doing to support this podcast, and we have an incredible lineup coming up here. We have just about every major college conference represented. We have a ton of FBS coaches, Division II coaches, Division III coaches, some great high school football coaches coming on the podcast to share with you and help you grow professionally during this time. I really appreciate all of you asking your questions on Twitter. Please follow me at Coach K. Grabowski for our daily updates on our guests and your opportunity to ask questions. We will read them on the show and attribute those to you. So please contribute to the show as much as you can. I also want to talk to you a little bit about our football development model, which is something we've rolled out here at USA Football. And this is really for you to be able to help your youth football programs develop. It's about a long-term athlete development plan. It's something that comes off of the American development model, which is something that the USOC has put together. The idea is that we're able to teach skills in a progression starting at the youngest ages. We're also looking at the different game types we have, whether that's flag, which is non-contact, limited contact games like padded flag or tackle bar, and full contact, and the right progressions for contact teaching there as well. Be sure to check out all we do at footballdevelopment.com and check out what we're doing with the FDM, the football development model, at usafootball.com/FDM. usafootball.com. On today's Coach and Coordinator podcast, I'm joined by Micah Kurtz, who was the 2018 National Strength and Conditioning Association Coach of the Year and has just done an excellent job with the programs he's worked with. And we're excited to have him back here and talk about some things that you can pass along to your athletes so that you can help them continue to develop athletically and physically here in this time. And I know right now we really don't know when this is going to end, so we want you to be proactive and send that information out. So, Coach Kurtz, thank you for taking the time, and it's great to have you here.
Yeah, great to be back. I appreciate you inviting me back on.
So, Coach, I'm sure you've had a ton of these questions and have been able to formulate a pretty consistent answer now. So, looking at this time, what tips do you give, or what's the plan you can give us to keep our athletes improving and, I guess, taking a little bit of advantage of the time they have off as well?
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of a two-part answer. Really with this downtime and these lack of structure and not being thrown off your normal schedule. I mean, I've talked to a lot of my athletes who've reached out and tried to spin it in a positive way. This is just a huge window of opportunity that you can really, really separate yourself from other athletes, other people, other of your peers that maybe are not going to be taking advantage of this downtime, because without this structure of their daily workouts at their school or whatever gym they're going to, many will slack off. And so this opportunity for those who really sees it, it's an opportunity to get stronger, faster, more explosive, get smarter in whatever areas of the game they play, whatever positions they play, to study the game, and they can really use this time to separate themselves. So that's one thing. And then, those athletes that are really motivated and have really gotten stronger and faster and bought into their strength and conditioning program, those are really the ones that are reaching out to me a lot, that are nervous, and they're like, hey, I've made all these gains. I'm worried about my strength gains going down. I don't have a gym to go to. I don't have access to weights. And I really try and reassure them. I think everything gets a little bit blown out of proportion. Obviously, I know this virus is spreading quick, but I also think the media can sensationalize it as well. And so it's also, I think people sometimes blow out of proportion how quickly you can lose your strength gains. And so really strength and aerobic capacity, the gains that you make, the adaptations that you make, those can really stay with you pretty much for 30 days with minimal training. So, I mean, if you've gotten extremely strong, if you've done a great job in your off season and you're just staying consistent with body weight workouts, you're not really going to lose much of your strength gains. The thing that does go quicker is your speed and your power effect, your speed and your power. And so that leaves within anywhere from 5 to 7 days, according to studies. But the good thing about that is there's so much you can do for speed and power you don't need to do the Olympic weightlifting movements. I mean, get out there and run fast, run sprints, jump, bound. If you have some type of med ball or something, some med ball throws, if you have access to a kettlebell or some type of weight, you can do kettlebell swings. But really, the things that go quicker are your speed and your power adaptations. And so I highly recommend you getting out there and put force into the ground. And the good thing about it is you can do that without weights, and you can do that on your own and get out in your yard or in the street or in the driveway and run some sprints and do some explosive broad jumps and vertical jumps and vertical jump to broad jump, and any of that stuff's going to help really maintain those speed and power adaptations.
Yeah, I think you make some important points there, and I appreciate you especially sharing those numbers on how those gains might start to decrease. And so I think the best would be if we could just put together, a basic kind of protocol for each of those. So let's attack the strength side of it first, right? We've been in the weight room. We've been doing a lot of presses or cleans or lunges or whatever it might be to build squats, to build up our strength. If you could go through, I guess, over the course of a week, kind of just frame out something basic that our high school athletes especially could use to maintain that, and then we could attack the other side with the speed and explosion afterwards.
Again, I think a lot of our athletes, no matter if they've been in the weight room if they're high school athletes or college athletes, they've been in the weight room for the most experienced ones, might have been in there for 3, 4, 5, 6 years of training. You always can improve your form and improve your technique. So one thing that they can really do during this time is really hone in on any limitations they may have. If they struggle with the squat form where they have tight hips or tight ankles, like this could be really a time to really kind of slow down and really hone in on correcting any restrictions that you may have and really improve your form so that when you do get back in the weight room, you're going to be better for it. So I think as far as a strength workout that athletes can do, I mean, it's all going to be body weight. I mean, you're going to be able to do your double-legged body weight squats. You can do single-leg squats, rear foot elevated squats with your foot behind you, lateral lunges, forward lunges, reverse lunges. All of that's going to be able to give you continue to be able to keep your strength gains. And so, I mean, I would recommend probably at least 2 days a week and would try to make it more of a total body workout where you can hit your lower body with your lunges, your squats, your single leg squats, and then obviously you can do a lot of push-ups. But again, you want to make sure that you're doing pulls. So if you have any type of chin-up bar or even a band where you could do band pull-aparts or any way that you can figure out how to hit that upper posterior chain, you'll get a lot of lower posterior chain by being able to do some single leg hip thrusters and even banded RDLs you could do. If you have a band, there's a lot that you can do. So I would recommend at least 2 days a week of total body workouts, and you can modify the volume according to how hard you want to work. You can modify the tempo if you want to incorporate eccentric movements or you want to incorporate isometric holds. I mean, there's plenty of ways to modify it to make it more difficult, and then you can always finish off your workout with some type of metabolic finisher where you're trying to do as many rounds of a few exercises as possible in a certain amount of time. So I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do, and again, like I said in the beginning, like this is a way to get creative. This is a way to to attack your weaknesses, and this is definitely a time for those motivated athletes to separate themselves from their peers who may not be doing this stuff.
So that takes us to the speed and power side, which you said starts to diminish. Those gains start to diminish after 5 to 7 days. So that's going to be probably an area. I'm sure our athletes are all aware of all those body weight things they can do, but this is an area that they want to make sure they stay on top of. So I guess with this, ideas for what as far as they should do, and then, the frequency, the rest periods, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so whenever you're training for power, whenever you're training for speed, I make sure to really hammer this home to my athletes. When it's a speed day, I hammer into them and say, this is speed training. This is not conditioning. We're running whatever number of sprints. I'm going to give you 100% full recovery in between each sprint. But that means every single sprint, you need to go 100% full speed. I tell them all the time, in order to be fast, you need to train fast. So if you're not running a sprint full speed, it's not speed training. You're not getting faster. So I think that's one thing that I would talk to everybody listening. Don't worry about going out and running a mile or running gassers. Like I would focus on getting optimal power and speed work in and having full recovery in between. And again, I would recommend that 2 to 3 times a week. And it could be one day could be speed training, one day could be some type of agility training, one day could be more of a plyometric and footwork training. So just off the top of my head, you could do the first day of the week, you could do speed training. I'd recommend anywhere from 8 to 15 sprints, depending on the distances. Obviously, the shorter distance, the more sprints you're going to be able to run. So just a rough guideline off the start. You could run 4 10-yard sprints, 4 20-yard sprints, and then like 2 40-yard sprints, and that would be a great day right there after a full dynamic warm-up and cool down. And then the next day could be an agility day. And again, going back to using this time to really hone in and hone in on your weaknesses. There's so much body control and learning how to absorb force and shin angles and body position in change of direction and agility. Like this is a time where you can really, really take your time and focus on proper shin angles and we talk about edges and angles in our agility training, where when you get in and out of your breaks, you want to feel the proper edges of your feet. If you're changing direction, you want but the body weight on the inside edge of one foot and the outside edge of another foot. And then angles, or getting proper shin angles and the ability that your core plays into being able to change direction. If you want to change direction, your upper body also has to be in the proper angle to be able to change direction. So this is a time where you can really take your time, where a lot of times when we're doing agility training with a big team, we're just running, we're running through as many reps with as many kids as possible. This is a time where you can really slow down and focus on good body control. So again, there's so many things you can do for agility training. The NFL combined drills, the 5-10-5 shuttle, the L drill, the T drill, and then any types of box drills or X drills you want to do. There's so much stuff out there. And then you could do just a plyometric day where you're incorporating vertical jumps and broad jumps and leaps and bounds. And then, the tried and true, which is one of the best exercises you can do, and a lot of us have gotten away from it, is just jumping rope. That is one of the best things that you can do for low-level plyometrics and for building up your aerobic endurance. I think a good and you'd be shocked at how many kids don't know how to do it. So again, to use this time to learn a new skill and to, like you said, the old school jump rope. But I think a good starting point would be doing a speed day one day a week, doing a change of direction agility day one day a week, and then a plyometric day one day a week.
So I want to go back to the speed day in the sprints. And It actually, I mean, I'm thinking back, and it was for me somewhere, I don't know how long I was into my career, maybe 5-6 years into my career, and I'm out watching track practice and, watching these guys run their sprints, and in between they've got all kinds of time off. They're stretching a little bit, but I mean, they're literally like I'm like, this is track practice? Like, wow. Well, the whole thing is they're working on improving speed, and so there has to be a proper recovery time there, and for the most part, what we do as football coaches, and definitely what I was doing before I made that connection, was not really allowing much recovery time, which now we're only working on conditioning. We're not doing things that are going to build the speed. So I think the best thing, again, because there's time, right? Because we're not running a million guys through. You have the time in your own workouts. What is the rest recovery time that's necessary between those sprints? And I know it's going to vary on distance and really time of the sprint.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend anywhere from 10 to 20 times your work to rest. So if you run a 5-second 40, I mean, at a minimum, a 50-second rest in between. That'd be 10 times. I mean, and then up to 20. I mean, you're resting about 2 minutes, and that's even, like you said, that's even going to be a little bit less rest than you're going to see at a traditional track practice. Obviously, they're going to be running further distances than a 40-yard dash a lot of times, but I mean, I would say a minimum of 10 times work to rest ratio.
Yeah, I think that it's very important here. And the other part, I guess, we didn't address. We talked, about all these aspects. I think this is a really good time to work on flexibility and hip mobility, which are so important to an athlete. I can't tell you how many times when talking to a coach or, guys looking at recruiting a kid or sitting in a room looking at a meeting saying, hey, he's too stiff for us.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And so, again, this is a time when you have so much more freedom and lack of structure and ability to do really focus on yourself and take that initiative. So yeah, if you're stiff, if you know you have tight hips, if you know you have tight ankles, like, now is the time to really, really, really focus on it. And I mean, there's so much. The good thing is, I mean, we got time, and pretty much everybody has a computer and the internet, and there's so much information out there that you can get just by Googling, just by going on YouTube. And so I highly, highly agree with what you're saying. Like, this is the time to really focus on getting more flexible and attacking any weaknesses that you have.
I know one of our favorite things to do was with the hurdles, and we have been doing these a long time, back from when I was coaching high school, but I've seen it make its way into, the activation period. The dynamic warm-up for a lot of college practices is the hurdles. You're going to see hurdles out there, and guys both working to step over those the proper way, and there's some key details to that, as well as go under those things. And while none of us have hurdles sitting around our house or in our yard, very easy to take a rope or a broomstick and put that across 2 chairs or something like that, attach the rope to a couple trees, and be able to work those exact mobility drills, because you don't need a series of those. You could just go back and forth.
Exactly. It's time to get creative, and I love I was thinking just you could use it just for one leg, just stepping over a chair, where going one way on one leg and one way on the other leg. But I mean, just listening to you right there, put 2 chairs together and put a broomstick on them, and you got a hurdle right there. So I mean, it's a time to be creative, and there's so much stuff that you can do without the luxuries of a full weight room and hurdles and everything that we've grown accustomed to.
Coach, from the other side of this, the side I think is important as well, kind of the psychological, the emotional side of dealing with this too. For athletes, we're so in tune with a game coming up, a season coming up. Is something at the end of this that we're working for? Any recommendations in how to handle the unknown? There is not necessarily a target right now because we're not sure when this might end.
So I don't know if you know Jeremy Boone. Jeremy Boone's an unbelievable strength coach, and he's also gone into coaching leadership. And I was just on a call with him yesterday, and I had some great pieces of advice for all of us, for our athletes, and then also for us as coaches, where we're going through this time of uncertainty, and we're all very anxious, and we're all workaholics. And I think the only one that's working nonstop now is you, with all your interviews you got lined up. But I think a great exercise is you could reach out to your, and some I know people do this, have already done this since football season has already ended, where you already had your end of the year banquets and everything. But a great thing, if you haven't done, or a great thing to revisit, is reach out to all of your seniors that just finished and have them write a legacy letter about their time with the program, and really I think one way to make it even better is write about their jersey number and what it meant to them, the trials and tribulations they went through, how it helped influence who they are, and write that letter about their jersey number, and then they can pass that on to whoever's going to wear that jersey number next year. And so it's a way for them to stay connected. It's a way for that guy who's going to be taking over that number to really have more, is going to mean more to him. So in that aspect for the athletes, I think that's one way for them to continue to stay connected and keep their mind off what's going on a little bit, and really to be able to reminisce about all the great things that they've gone through as part of the team and in football. And then for coaches, I mean, we're going nonstop, and now we have a little bit of a downtime. And I mean, I think coaches could take the time to write a note to each senior, a handwritten note to each senior on their team, or even, I mean, we got a lot of time, who knows how long, write a handwritten note to every one of your players on your team, and just talk about what they meant to the team and how much they meant to you, for sure. And then even going further than that, which is something that I'm going to definitely attack here in these next few weeks, is write a note to the parents of your seniors, or if you have the time, to the parents of all of your players, and just talk to them about how it's been an honor partnering with them to help their child reach their maximum potential. And that's going to go a long ways to building the culture on your team, building buy-in on your team, which everybody wants and everybody talks about, and just being able to get everybody to stay connected during this time and kind of get their mind off all the crazy news that's going on.
Exactly. Incredible ideas there, Coach, both from the strength and conditioning side as well as how to handle this, some of this time and really the connection and the suggestions for the letters, I think, are incredible. I really appreciate you taking the time here with us. For our coaches out there who might have a question or want to pick your brain a little bit, because I know that's happening quite a bit out here, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, I'm got time on my hand now, so I'm really active on social media. Twitter and Instagram is @KurtzM3, KURTZM3, and then always, I got a website, theathletemaker.com, www.theathletemaker.com, and then feel free to email me as well. I've definitely tried to get back to all emails. My email is last name, first name, Kurtz, Micah @gmail.com.
Coach, again, thank you for your time. It was great catching up with you here. And as I told you before we got going, we'll have to stay connected here and see what we could do for our coaches and our athletes on this podcast moving forward.
You're the man. I appreciate all you're doing for our profession.
Thank you. Coaches, again, I want to remind you of what we're doing with the football development model. Please push this down to your youth coaches. I think this is a great way for you to get some organization and structure beyond what you've already done. Check it out, all of our program development for youth football at fdm.usafootball.com. Again, check out our systems for blocking, tackling, and defeating blocks at footballdevelopment.com. If you register with your email, you get your choice of 3 free videos. There's some great things in there. I think things that as you get going again, you can get into the summer and maybe make up on some things that you might have lost if you had a spring ball, if you had time here in the spring to work on football. Some great drills for all those phases of contact. If you're enjoying the podcast, please head over to iTunes or your platform and give us a 5-star rate. If you have a minute, write a review. We really appreciate it, and we will read your review on our highlight show that we do at the end of the week.
Thanks for listening to USA Football's Coach and Coordinator Podcast. For more resources, visit the Coach Performance Center at usafootball.com.